The kitchen floor was a grid of white porcelain, and Mom worked it with a damp cloth until every square caught the overhead light. She moved with a rhythmic, steady pressure, wiping away invisible dust, ensuring the surface was flawless. The house was silent, save for the soft friction of the cloth against the tiles. In the living room, the atmosphere was heavy with stillness. Tom and Lily lay on the sofa, staring at the ceiling, their limbs heavy with boredom. They tossed a ball back and forth, but the rhythm was broken. It hit the wall with a dull, hollow thud that echoed into the kitchen. Tom caught the ball, held it for a beat, and let it drop. It rolled across the rug and stopped. He looked toward the kitchen door, his gaze fixed on the sliver of light spilling across the hallway floor. He leaned toward Lily, his voice dropping to a low, deliberate whisper. "Let us cook," he said. Lily shifted, her boredom vanishing as she sat up straight. She looked at the kitchen, then back at Tom, a spark of intent in her eyes. "Yes, let us bake a cake for Mom," she replied. They rose from the sofa, moving with deliberate, quiet steps. Tom led the way, his eyes darting toward the laundry room door. He paused, holding up a hand to stop Lily, and they both stood perfectly still, listening. The sound of water running and the hum of the machine provided a perfect cover. They crept forward, heels lifted, toes finding the softest parts of the floorboards to avoid any telltale creaks. They reached the kitchen threshold and slipped inside. The room felt massive and intimidating in the silence. Mom was still occupied, her movements audible through the wall. Tom signaled toward the cupboard. They moved in sync, pulling the heavy bag of flour from the shelf with both hands, bracing against the weight so it would not thud. Lily reached for the carton of eggs, her fingers trembling slightly. They set the ingredients on the counter. The house remained quiet. They had the supplies. The plan was in motion. Tom grabbed the bag and tilted it, his grip failing as the weight shifted suddenly. He dumped a massive scoop toward the bowl, but his aim was off. Poof! A thick white cloud erupted, instantly coating the counter and settling into Tom's hair like snow. He coughed, waving his hands through the haze. Lily reached for an egg, but the surface was slick with flour dust. It slid through her fingers, hit the edge of the counter, and shattered against the tiles. The sound was sharp, sudden, and final. From the shadows, the cat darted into the room, ears pricked at the noise. It leaped onto the table, its paws landing squarely in a puddle of spilled milk. Tom pointed, his eyes wide, and he burst into laughter. Lily joined in, clutching her stomach. In the middle of the commotion, Tom bumped the bowl. Splash! A heavy, thick batter slid off the table, hitting the floor with a wet, heavy thud. The cat panicked, shaking its paws and spraying batter across the cabinets. The kitchen was no longer a workspace. It was a disaster zone. The children stood frozen in the center of the wreckage, their laughter dying out as the reality of the mess settled in. The house remained silent. The laundry room door creaked open, the sound cutting through the kitchen like a blade. Mom stepped over the threshold and stopped dead. Her gaze swept across the room, taking in the white dusted floor, the splattered cabinets, and the cat licking batter from its paws. Her eyes widened, and her hands gripped the doorframe. "Oh no! What happened here?" Her voice climbed, sharp and tight with sudden frustration. Tom hung his head, his chin pressing against his chest. He took a small, hesitant step back, his boots leaving tracks in the thick, sticky mess. "Sorry, Mom," he whispered. Lily moved forward, her hands held out toward the overturned bowl. She pointed to the wreckage, her face earnest. "We wanted to make a cake for you," she explained. Mom looked down at the sticky floor, then back at the two children. They stood before her, covered in white powder, eyes wide and waiting. The tension in her shoulders held for a long, heavy second. Then, it snapped. Her posture softened, and a slow, genuine smile spread across her face. "That is very sweet," she said, her tone shifting from alarm to warmth. The three of them moved in a quiet, practiced rhythm. Mom guided the mop across the tiles, while Tom and Lily wiped the counters until the surfaces sparkled once more. The evidence of the earlier disaster vanished under their steady shared effort. With the kitchen restored, they turned to the second attempt. They mixed a new batch of batter, carefully pouring the liquid into small tins. They slid the tray into the oven and waited. Minutes later, the timer dinged, releasing a wave of warm vanilla into the air. They sat at the table, each holding a small, fresh cupcake. The room felt still and content. They took a bite, and the kitchen fell into a comfortable silence, the only sound the soft clink of spoons against plates. The mess was gone, replaced by the quiet warmth of a family moment.